This conference will now be recorded.
So welcome to day two of our Canada payroll learning session. So today I'll be talking about three major topics. One is there are specific Canada payroll specific info types that is related to the tax and garnishment. So total seven info types today I'll be explaining, and also say at the same time I'll be showing in the system. And the second part of it is I'll be talking about which is a generic topic. This is related to payroll Canada workbook. Workbook, what is a workbook? So generally it is during your implementation of your Canada payroll. So that all of kind of requirement you take in that in Excel spreadsheet. Okay. Generally we used to do it in a business blueprint and earlier days, but nowadays people prefer to as you is in the era of success factor, so everything is a workbook. Okay, so for that reason I just modified. It is not provided by SAP. Rather, I have just to align with success factor. I have designed a workbook. Okay, so that I am going to explain you how to fill up that workbook and what are the different components of the workbook. So in the upcoming days, we will be filling up that workbook. In today itself, I'll be sharing that workbook with you, so that whenever you are doing the hands-on, you think of the scenarios, you create your own scenarios, you just fill that in that particular workbook. Okay, so it will be helpful for you whenever you are working in a live implementation in the future. So that is the intention of that. So when it comes to the info type, yesterday I talked about the specific info types which I have shared with you, like info type 0, 1, 2, 6, 9, so 8, 15, 14. So those are actually universal in nature for any country of payroll you're working. So those specific info types are mandatory. You have to enter those data for those employees. On the top of that, when it comes to the Canada payroll, okay, so we have the specific info types for Canada. So the first one is regarding a 461. This info type is meant for all kind of tax assignment. Okay, for this is a mandatory info type for every employee who are working in Canadian payroll. So they who are part of a Canadian payroll rather. So this info type must be maintained for them. Without this info type, your tax calculation will not happen. Okay, so this is a mandatory info type for which I will showing you. Do not worry about it. This is a 461 info type. So the next input type will be your 462, which is actually the provincial tax. Okay. So for every employee who are part of your Canadian payroll, okay, so they belong to particular province. So province means it, you can think of like a state in India. Okay. So like India will be having different eight states and there are territories areas. So similarly in Canada also they do have the provincial tax is applicable for them. So where to maintain it? So basically, so it may happen employee might be working in a different province. He is working, staying in a different. You can think of it like suppose you are staying in Noida and you're working in Gurgaon. Both are two different states, but luckily we do not have a different tax laws and all here. But in Canada and US, this kind of scenario is very common. People work in certain province and they stay in a different province. So their tax implication accordingly it will vary. Okay. So for that reason, we maintain a different info type where exactly the employee is leaving, where exactly the employee is working. So for that reason, we do have a different info types. So info type 462 is all about your provincial tax. Okay. So if you are not working in suppose you are working outside Canada, which is part of not part of your province of employment, then this 462 info type will not be applicable for you. Okay, so this is a little tweak here. So this is regarding a 462. I'll be whenever I'll be showing in the system, you'll be able to clearly understand it. So don't worry. So 463 next info type is a 463, which is regarding federal tax. So federal tax is actually at the central level. So for every employee who are part of your Canadian payroll, so they will be eligible for this federal tax, and it will be calculating for each and every employee. So there are specific formula for it. Okay, so how this calculation will happen. So do not worry about this body. So there is something called body. Body means this is a business add-in. It's a technical term. So whenever is there any suppose if you like to choose the option between option one and option two. So similarly, the Indian government has introduced the last in the current financial year, you have to choose your tax part, right? So you must be aware of it. Similarly, for
Yeah.
Canada government also, so they do have an option one and option two. So it is a little different for them. So like general tax formula for periodic payment, and another option is for tax formula based on accumulation averaging. So there's a different calculations. So you can enhance. So there is a delivered body. Body means it's a technical add-in available. SAP provides that. So if you have to take help from a technical consultant, that is an ABAP consultant, and the body name, if you ask to your technical consult, this is the body name, and they will be helping you regarding the setup. Okay. But as a functional consultant, you must understand what is the meaning of this 463 input type and what does it do. Okay, so this is basically a federal tax calculation for all kind of federal tax. They call it there is a form called TD1 form in Canada, specific form. Similarly, we have form 16 kind of thing. So there's to store all the information related to total tax credit and everything, total estimated remunerations and expenses. Okay, so all of these things will be available in this particular TD1 form, and those related federal tax details will be maintained in your info type 463. Okay, so these three important info types are very important for Canadian payroll. So 461 is for tax assignment, 462 is a provincial tax, 463 is a federal tax. Okay, so these three things you have to remember. And the 464 is an additional. So this is an optional info type. So this is may or may not required for a particular employee. It may not be applicable for everyone. So this is an employee. Suppose if you're eligible for some additional provincial tax exemptions, okay. So those tax related exemption you maintain in a different info type, which is the 464. Then accordingly your tax exemption will be calculated in the total whenever your total tax will be calculated. Okay, so this is again additional tax related data. So these four related info types are related to the Canadian payroll tax related info types, which is very specific to Canada payroll. So these info types you can't find it for any other employees who are not part of a Canadian payroll. Okay, so these four key info types. Then the next one is the garnishment. So do you understand what is the meaning of a garnishment? Any idea? Do you have?
Benefits?
No. Exactly, there is a benefit for a different separate module. Garnishment is very unique to US payroll as well as the Canadian payroll. Okay, so I will be giving in one example. So by the image of this, you will be understanding. So this is a symbol of a court order. Okay, so like the court order, and there is in the below section there is an image. It is a page, your pay wallet of the employee. Okay, so what is the meaning of this garnishment? So like in US and Canadian government. Specific to those countries, they do have a rule for garnishment. What happens in the garnishment? Basically, garnishment is nothing but a court order. Suppose, let's say, I'll be giving one example. Suppose if you've taken a loan, I'll be just giving a layman example. Suppose you've taken a loan, and due to some reason you are not able to repay your debt, whatever the debt you are not able to repay. Suppose your loan is with this, suppose XYZ organization, XYZ real estate or something. Okay, so that XYZ real estate, what they will do, they will put a case, court order, put a case in the Canadian government. Okay, so what the Canadian government will do, those court, they will assign a court order. Okay, they will assign a court order to the employer. Suppose you are working for ABC company. Okay, so that ABC company, that court order will send that court order, and they will deduct that amount, a specific amount from your salary, and that amount will be paid to the company XYZ from where you have taken a loan. So you can't cheat anything regarding your loan. You understood the topic? This is just one of the layman example I have given. Okay, this is one of the examples. So like whatever the loan you have taken, so that there will be no issue in the future, because many times people take loan and they do not repay that, and due to some reason, okay, so it may cause a lot of problems in the society or economic problem. Okay, so this is a very unique, for that reason in the US government and the Canadian government, they have a very strict law for this, and they call it garnishment. So garnishment is nothing but a court order. Okay, which exactly the court will be sending those to HR for employer. For suppose you are working for organization ABC, they will be sending that order to the employee and the HR of that particular organization, and HR will be maintaining these details in your particular info type. There are specific info types for it, and accordingly from your salary it will be deducted. Okay, so this is just a layman example I've given, but there can be any other scenarios as well. Okay, suppose there is in US it is more prevalent, in Canada also, like suppose there is some divorce happen between two spouse. Okay, so what they will do, so another spouse who you are working, so he or she will be apply a case, it is very common in US and Canada. So they will be applying for child support, because for the child support they need some help. Okay, For that reason, the wife may go to the court and they will be applying for garnishment. So in this case also, they will be, your employer will be deducting a particular amount from your salary and they will repay to the spouse. Okay. So this is another example of garnishment which I talked about. So these are the two most common scenarios in the US and Canada. Okay. But this is not found in any other countries. I have not seen. Okay. So this is very unique thing for Canada payroll, which you'll be finding across. Okay. So how these are actually maintained? So Canadian law, as per the Canadian law, when it comes to the law, little bit different from US. So Canadian law actually recognizes two kind of garnishment. It can be a pre-judgment and another is a post-judgment. Okay. Suppose the court has given an order, but if it is not finalized, so there is a that is called pre-judgment order. So it will be kind of a, you have to just declare your asset, you could include your whatever the property you're having, your bank account, whatever you're having, okay, before obtaining court order. Okay, that is called a pre-judgment garnishment. And there is something called post-judgment. Suppose you own the case, okay, and so that only post-judgment, only the garnishment order will be applicable to your wages. Okay, so this is the two types of, so this is just a conceptual thing. Okay, pre-judgment and post-judgment. But when it comes to SAP, like which part of the things, your HR will be deciding depending upon in the court order. Suppose if you have received the court order from so and so court, okay, so the HR will be going to system and they will be maintaining this three input types. There are dedicated three input types, which is 66, 67, and 68. So 66 is all about your garnishment order, means the court order, whatever the, it can be a case number, what is the case number, means what is the purpose of that garnishment. Okay, so all those details we'll be seeing in the system. Okay, so that is regarding your garnishment order. Garnishment debt means, so what will be the total amount of the debt, okay, how much amount will be deducted from your salary and all. So then Infotype 68 is all about your adjustment. Suppose due to some reason your salary is less in this current month, so you are not able to pay that particular amount, so you can reduce that garnishment in the particular month. Okay, your HR will be adjusting that amount. Okay, so these are the info types which I'll be talking about in the demo session, like in the lab session I'll be showing you. These three info types,
These info types are, are these specific to this country only?
Exactly. So even if the garnishment concept remains the same, very similar in US and Canada, but for Canada we have dedicated this info type 66, 67, and 68, and there is another set of garnishment info types for your US payroll. So that is a different info type for US payroll, but for Canada we have this three info types 66, 67, and 68, and they are closely related to each other. So they are directly linked to each other. Okay, so that will be seeing in the system. Okay, this is all regarding your garnishment and your specific. So this theoretical aspect I'm not going to explain directly. If I explain in the system, you will be able to understand. Okay, so this is regarding your garnishment and the basic info types. Then after I show the demo in the system, then I will be showing you the how a typical Canada payroll workbook look like, which actually I designed myself. So that is not available in SAP's partner rates or anywhere. So this will be helpful for you where any kind of implementation. Okay, so let me go back to the system, then I will explain you all these info types which I explained to you now.
This conference will now be recorded.
So we need to go to the PA30. So here in PA30, as I have already having how to identify an employee from Canada, the easiest thing is you can, because there will be certain employees already hired in the system, you can use that. Otherwise you can hire an employee from specific nationality or org assignment. You can use it. Say company code I'm going for, let's say, okay, let's say yes. Let's say yes, then so here let me go to a particular country. I can go for by org assignment. So here in the company code I can choose by seeing the currency or by seeing, suppose Canadian. This is the easiest way to do check it, because this is a learning training system. Many people have created a lot of data, so you can utilize directly. Otherwise you can create your own to be on safer side. Okay, So let me check if anything is there in the CAD. Suppose I can filter it in currency. So let me go to, so Canadian dollar. So CAD under Canadian dollar, that is a Canadian currency. So you can see many people have created like Western Ontario. This is provided by SAP. Generally, whatever you will be seeing the Western, actually this is provided by SAP. So you can directly use it. Suppose if I'm going for Western company code, 4000 company code, I can filter it. I can find out which are the employees who belong to this particular Canada government. Okay, so let me check with first employee, Sarah Miller. So if I go to the particular employee, then if I go to the info type, which we started with 461. Okay, so 461 info type is nothing but your text assignment Canada. So it is very simple info type. So if I go to create, maintain this info type, so directly by default, the start date, which will be your date of joining. Suppose the employee have joined on so and so date, automatically system will trigger that particular date of joining as a start date. And here you'll be finding four things in this info type. That is a province of employment. Province of employment means where exactly you are working. So this is a mandatory one. Suppose if you're working on Ontario, okay, you can choose Ontario. Okay. So the next one is the employment jurisdiction. So what is an employment jurisdiction actually? So if you would like to understand anything which you are not sure, you can always go for this F1 help. Okay. Suppose for any this one are you aware of?
No.
Okay. So suppose due to some reason you are not able to understand a particular field in SAP. Okay. So just simply you scroll it. This is a tips actually. So actually I recommend to people to do that instead of Googling every time. Go into Google and search it. You may get confused. Rather, you can directly put the cursor there. Okay. Then you just put F1 of your laptop or whatever desktop you're using. Just put simple F1 help. Okay. Then you will be able to understand what is that particular field is about. It is across SAP, not only for HR module, for any other modules of SAP, you will be finding this help. Okay, so this is talking about the say employment related standard jurisdiction. So what does it mean? So basically it says here you enter the province having jurisdiction to pass labor related laws governing this employee. If you do not make any entry, the system recognizes the province of employment as the province of the employment standard jurisdiction. So this is an optional field. Suppose if you are not maintaining anything in the employment jurisdiction, it will consider the province of employment as similar to your employment jurisdiction. Okay. So it may happen. So like in some of the organization in Canada, so the organization belong to Ontario. Jurisdiction may belong to a different state. Okay. Suppose like I'll be giving a one example in India as well. Suppose one of your organizations is having established in Gurgaon. Okay. But they do have the registered office in Delhi. Okay. So it may happen. Okay. So to save some tax or something like that. So they have a small office in Delhi and that will be a registered office and they will be having the actual office in Gurgaon. Okay. So in this case also it may happen in Canada as well. So in this case, suppose if your jurisdiction is a different one, you can maintain it. So all these 10 provinces plus whatever additional provinces are there, it can be same or it can be different. Suppose if it's a different, you have to maintain it. If it is same also, whether you are maintaining it or not maintaining doesn't matter. Okay, but it's not as a mandatory thing. Okay, so this is regarding your this is an example of what is an employment jurisdiction. Okay, so the next one is the province of residence. Suppose this is very simple. Where exactly you are staying. Suppose if you are staying in a different state in Canada. Okay, suppose you are staying say British Columbia. Okay, so then you can choose it and accordingly your calculation will happen. So regarding your calculation, you do not have to worry about it. Okay, so whatever the data you are maintaining, system will calculate automatically in the backend system. So that is the beauty of SAP Canada Payroll. So you don't have to worry about it. If there is any changes in the policies or laws or regulations, okay, SAP always applies those notes. Okay, so you have to upgrade your system accordingly, and automatically those calculations will happen in the system. Okay, only thing is you have to maintain the actual data, the proper data here. Okay, so this is regarding a province of residence where exactly you're staying. And another thing is the province of health tax. Suppose if you're not understanding what is a health tax, so you can just simple F1 health, and it will say it maintains the province based on which health tax is calculated. Okay, it may happen where you are staying, or it may happen. Suppose if you enter a province for which suppose your health tax is not applicable at all for that particular province. Okay, So in that case, what will happen? System will display the province entered in the province of employment. So province of employment will be it will be prioritized. Suppose if you're not maintaining or if it's not applicable, so then the system will understand the province of employment will be actually it will be takeover. Okay, so whatever the province of employment, accordingly your province of health tax will be calculated. If it is
So it
applicable,
will be considered both.
yeah. So it will consider the both. Suppose if you are not maintaining this employment jurisdiction or province of health tax, automatically system will consider this province of employment. So it will be having a highest priority province of employment, because wherever you are working, that will be having a highest priority. Okay. So in this way, you have to maintain these four things: jurisdiction, and out of this, most important one is the province of employment. Okay. This is the most important one, and the third one also important, the province of residence, where exactly you are staying. Okay. And other the two, actually, if you're not maintaining, it will take the value of province of employment. Okay. So this is regarding your info type 461. Okay. So this is an important info type. So here, while saving it, it may give some message like, this is the changes to field provision of health app which is not designed for use are deleted. So it may happen due to some configuration error in the backend system, because I have not seen the system in the backend part people have configured, because many people are using it. You may get this kind of error in this system. Okay. So while maintaining it, it will say enter data for payroll past retroactive accounting. So what is the meaning of it? So because I'm currently in 2020, my current current June 2020, but I am changing a data which is in 2013. Okay, so it will significantly impact my salary, right? So because it is not logically it is not correct to change anything so 7 years back, and accordingly whatever the master data has been or the tax related data, system will consider. So it is just giving a warning. It will not stop you to save this data, but here if you see, this is the warning message you'll be getting: enter data for payroll past retroactive accounting. So system will consider whatever the changes have been, so this impact, so it will impact of last 7 years salary. Okay, so system will say, if you go to the view details, system will say the current entry begins. So SF is very intelligent in this, so you'll be finding direct the message. So the message is very specific to you, because I have just started is 2013 April 10. System will say the diagnosis. If you see read the diagnosis part of it, the current entry begins on 10th of April. Either this date is before the accounted to date, or payroll has not been run for the employee. So this is the kind of message you'll be getting. System will be saying you have not run the payroll for this 7 years. So it will calculate all the things, whatever you are changing it will impact. Okay. So then again, it will say cancel your entry if you do not want a recalculation. Okay. So this is the most important one, the procedure one, because we're just doing a hands-on activity, so we are not worried about it. But in the production environment, whenever you're doing some such kind of changes, you have to be very careful. Okay. So this is the system will be intelligent enough to stop you there. Okay. But as you're working in a demo system, so we'll just save it. We'll just enter it. Okay. So system will save that. Okay. So once I save it, you will be seeing it will be system will take you into a different screen. Did you observe that?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is actually the another info type which I talked about. That is your info type 462. So the second info type which I talked about. So you do not have to maintain the 462 info type separately. So once you maintain this info type 461, automatically system will update. It will take you to the info type 462. Okay. So how you will be understanding this? So you can see in the below section, it is actually saying the record created. Record created means you have created the info type 461. If you go to the view details of it, it will say that this record has been successfully created. That is the previous info type has been already created. Okay. So once you maintain that info type 461, automatically system will you, because we have chosen Ontario, right? So in the previous screen, the previous info type, automatically it will be freezed. Okay, you can't change it further. Okay, so it will automatically freeze, and accordingly system has calculated some kind of credit. Okay, so this is a 9,574 US dollar, sorry, Canadian dollar. It has calculated something. So in the backend system, depending upon the thing, so system will calculate. And suppose if you would like to any changes here, okay, suppose there is some other deduction or credit is happening, okay, that you just maintain here. Any kind of credit is happening, okay, any kind of, what is the meaning of this credit, you can always, as I was mentioning, this is the easiest way. So if you're not understanding anything, just scroll it, just to have hover around it and put an F1 help. Okay, so what is the meaning of this provincial total tax credit? So here you generally maintain employees total for all personal tax credit amount. Okay, the total, whatever the amount you have indicated in your provincial TD1 form, as I was mentioning, whatever the TD1 form, according to a TD1 form, employee will be getting. So in that TD1 form, whatever is maintained, that you can update here. System you will be anyway calculated. Suppose if you like to override anything, or if you like to send any total non-index, suppose it is non-indexed in your TD1 form. Okay, so that you can also enter it here, like due to some reason there is some variation in the TD1 form. Okay, so you can enter those personal tax credit amount which is not subject to your annual cost of living adjustment. So there is some rules for that. Okay, so for those specific rules, accordingly you have to maintain those data, but as an HR you have to enter this data. Okay, so there are some additional provincial data, so like how many number of dependents do you have who are under the age of 18. Okay, that you can maintain it here. Okay, suppose I do have one. So similarly, number of dependents with a disability. So depending upon your situation, the employee situation, you can maintain those. So all those details can be maintained in this provincial tax Canada. Okay, that is an info type 462. So you do not have to maintain this info type separately. So whenever you are maintaining info type 461, depending upon your province, okay, it will system will trigger to the next info type, that is the info type 462. So what you can do, so while practicing this, you try for an employee, try to maintain the info type 462 independently, and let me know if you're able to maintain it independently or not. Okay, so like this is a small assignment for you. So if you just try to save it, okay, so you will be getting a similar kind of message here, like whether you like to enter this data for payroll fast. So again, just simply as you're working on a demo environment, we'll just simply save it. Okay, so if I double click and save it, the next info type it will take me through. Okay, so the next info type is which I was talking about, the creating the federal tax. So federal tax is the central level, the Canada level. So that is a 463 info type which I was talking about. Okay, so similarly for this info type also you can maintain. So these are all dynamically you will be moving. So you do not have to maintain separately. So different info type. Rather, once you start maintaining 461, it will trigger to 462. Once you maintain 462, it will trigger the next info type, that is 463. So you don't have to remember. So you don't have to remember this info type or sequence, or rather, once you only remember 461, automatically system will update or respect it depending upon your time and timeline and your the start date. And your depending upon your province, the system will calculate this credit. Okay, total credit, if anything is applicable for you, like for federal tax, the most important another part is like suppose if you're having some additional tax, suppose say I have another 1,000 additional tax in the designated area, I can put something here. And is there any labor law? Depending upon your labor law, suppose some labor sponsored, some fund is there. Okay, so those things. If there is any waiver, okay, some deduction or credit is happening due to some waiver, okay, that you can maintain it here. It is like an optional thing. So like depending upon your scenario, you can maintain it. Okay, so depending upon that. So this is the way you have to maintain this, creating a federal tax. Okay, so once you maintain it, the last one is your info type 464. This is an optional one. Okay, so so here if you again see the province of employment, also it will trigger from the initial info type, that is a 461. You do not have to maintain separately. Whatever province you have chosen in the info type 461, it will trigger those specific province, and it will say, so what are the tax authorities? So it can be, there are different types of tax authorities depending upon the province you're chosen. Okay, as I have chosen Ontario, so you can see there are 4 or 5 things which are very common, but there is the Ontario specific tax authorities also there. Okay, so Ontario employer health tax. So this is an important one. So depending upon your whatever the province you have chosen in the info type 461, those details you'll be getting, and accordingly you can maintain those whatever is applicable for you in the tax indicator. Okay, so we'll be seeing much detail in the future session, like I'll be explaining the Canada pension plan, because these are some little bit tricky. Okay, so but for the time being, you understand what are the different tax different info types for this country. Okay, So you can just maintain it. Okay, so this is the way you can maintain. So for this employee, now I have maintained all these 4 info types in a sequentially manner. Suppose I would like to see any of these info types, say 463, I would like to see. Okay, so I can go, I can see 463, and suppose I'm putting a view option here. I can put an overview. I can see the details of it. Okay, suppose I would like to see it further, then I can go and I can change, or you can view it here. Okay, so I can see the details, whatever has been I have updated. Okay, so you can see I have updated today only. Okay, so in this way you can visualize, you can view all of these info types. Okay, so this is regarding your those 4 info types I talked about. Okay, so I will recommend to go through it. Okay, so in your go to a system, hire an employee in Canada, or if you're already having an employee, you just try to maintain independently and try to come back like maintaining from 461, and what is the difference, you just observe it and make a note of it, so that you will not be able to, so in the future you will not be forgetting this thing. Okay, so I will recommend to do it, okay, tomorrow before we start tomorrow session. And the next info type is which I talked about, info type 66. Okay, so info type 66 is nothing but your garnishment. Okay, or so you can see the garnishment session CA. So this is Canadian specific garnishment. Similarly, you can, if you try to maintain it, then system will tell. So you can see, so by default it will start from some indefinite, because indefinite date, because system doesn't know when exactly your garnishment starts. Okay, so suppose let's say your garnishment is starting from say 1st of May 2020, and the case number, so this, why this case number is important, so this is actually the court case number. Okay, so it is just a free text. Okay, depending upon whatever the case number you are having, suppose putting say CA 0193, suppose random number I'm putting it, what depending upon your case number you will be putting it here, and this is the order number 1. Okay, so it may happen in the future, this is second order come, third order come. Okay, so this is actually the case number. Now, regarding this order section, the most important one is the status one. Okay, status is active. Only if the case is active, then only it will be applicable to your, it will be deducting those amount from your salary. If it is not, it is inactive or any other on hold, or if it is suppose the employee went for a leave, okay, then it will not be applicable. Only case, in case if it's the garnishment order is an active one, then only it will be calculate your payroll accordingly. Okay,
Okay.
so this is regarding
So,
your
yeah, what is the need of updating of other drop downs if there is no use of other status?
Okay, so other status actually just for your information. So due to some reason, suppose again you have to follow up from your say court. Court is saying that they're diverse, but why you have not deducted this amount, and so that you can refer it, like whether the employee has gone bankruptcy. Okay, but due to some reason he's not having money, so from where he will be bring that money. Okay, so the employer can follow up with by checking the status, so that they can coordinate between the third party, the court or the spouse or the authorities, the bank authorities. Okay, so they can coordinate among themselves. Once this is active, then only you will be able to understand that it will be part of your salary, if your party will deduct from your salary. If you like to see the status of this garnishment order status, there is actually the specific status provided by Canadian government. Okay, so you have there a specific code for each and every status. Okay, so whatever depending upon your code, so accordingly your letter will be generated. So there is something called garnishment letter. Okay, this is the kind of report it will generate depending upon your this status. But when it comes to payroll, so you have to understand, if it is an active, suppose you're working for a Canadian payroll, and for some reason your client is saying why my garnishment is not calculating. Okay, so first and foremost thing, you have to come back to this info type for that particular employee, and you have to check whether this status is active or not. If it is an active, then you have to do a further analysis. Okay, so this is the first point where we have to check exactly the status is active or not. Okay, so the next one is a reason. So like it can be, suppose the court has given the initial order. Okay, so you don't worry about this drop down values, because due to some misconfiguration, this value is showing a repeated, it will be showing once only. Initial order, or it is an amended order. Suppose the court is given some initial order. So as I was mentioning, for Canadian government, there is something called post judgment garnishment as well. Suppose court has given some decision, they have changed some decision, then you can use whether it was an amended order. All these details will be maintained in the garnishment order you receive from the court. Okay, that it will be mentioning. And jurisdiction actually, which provinces as I was mentioning, it is belongs, suppose a employee belongs to Ontario, you can choose according to that jurisdiction and which category it belongs to. So this is an important one. So as I was mentioning, required to pay a voluntary payment, or it can be a family support in case of there is a divorce or is an immigration issue. Okay, depending upon your reason, whatever the reason is applicable for that employee, you can choose that particular employee and accordingly it will calculate. So because depending upon different categories, there are some limits. Okay, depending upon your what are the maximum amount you can deduct. Okay, so all these things you can put it. So mostly when it comes to priority, mostly if it is a divorce case, so this is actually considered as a first priority. Okay, suppose if it is a divorce case and child support is required by the wife. Okay, so that will be generally the priority one. Otherwise, you can put any other priority 02, 03 like that. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay. So similarly, the date related. So what are there can be three types of date when the exactly you received the garnishment order. Okay, so you can mention say 1st of May, or when exactly the court order, what was the, it can be same. So court order has given suppose in the same day, and for when it was released. Okay, so this date will also plays a significant role whenever you are having this kind of garnishment order. Okay, so the next section is actually these are some optional thing like vendor. Vendor means suppose you have a set of vendor which instead of you doing it, some of the it can be a court agency, can be a okay. So if you're dealing with any kind of vendor to, because suppose if you're not doing, you're outsourcing is the activity to a particular vendor, you can maintain those vendor names. And similarly the agency names in court. Okay, suppose suppose it is a small claim court, it is a tax services office, it can be a code, it can be a family support plan. So this can be different types of agency. These are the different 5 types of agency available in your Canada. Okay, so it will vary from US, and from US it will be different one. But again, if in Canada, we have a different thing for Quebec. So Quebec has its own revenue department and all. So depending upon your scenario, mostly the court cases, then you have to just maintain the which court has, because in Canada there will be a lot of courts. So you just maintain those which court has given that particular order. Okay, so that detail you'll be maintaining here. And towards the end, actually, you have to maintain the single check indicator, like how the payment will be happening. Okay, is there any garnishment, service charges? Okay, so all those details you have to maintain it here. The garnishment fees, any service tax. Okay, so all those related things, depending upon your configuration, you have to maintain it and your client requirement and all. So this is regarding your Infotype 66. Okay, so this is just a garnishment order. We are just creating a garnishment order for that employee. So here you'll be seeing there are something is missing in this configuration. So enter a vendor. So they maintain the or this vendor name is a mandatory. So you have to enter, choose a particular vendor. So it may happen in this system. Okay, so luckily people have already created a vendor. Okay, so you can find out those specific vendor. I'm just putting a random one, so you can try it something else. Okay, let me put a random vendor. So then once you maintain it, then that error will be removed. So you can see the garnishment order is not really, delete the release date. Okay, so you can see release date, they're asking to remove it because some configuration might be missing, because I never know, because I'm just using it as an end user. Okay, because okay. So this kind of error also you may get in your live system. How to handle it, you have to understand it. Vendor exists, but it is not created in the company code. So it is very simple to understand this vendor, because this vendor which I have created, it belongs to some other country. This is Illinois, US. Okay, so for that reason it is not supporting the company code. Okay, so you may have to some additional configuration for that. Okay, so I'm just not going through that detail. Okay, so that we'll be seeing in the future, like whenever you are not having the vendor assigned to a particular country, then this kind of error will be coming, like it is not created in the company code, because we are in the company code 4000, which belongs to Canada, but we are trying to maintain a vendor which is outside Canada, that is Illinois for US country. Okay, so this kind of error, from this error actually you'll be able to understand a lot of things, because if you're working in a future in a support project, this will be helpful for you. Okay, so guys, just try to understand this kind of thing. Okay, okay, so
okay,
let's,
we can modify configuration as well, like
yeah, this is actually a dummy system, so feel free to, but I'll recommend whatever the best practices you follow, whatever I'm suggesting, don't do anything change in the SAP main core configuration, do not change anything. I rather means only specific thing you have to change, so whatever is really relevant for you, that you can do it. Okay, so let me put it something which is related to Canada. Let me check, try to save it. if it is allowing me. Okay, so many of this is some issues in the configuration of this vendor. Okay, this kind of issues also in the initial configuration. Suppose if you have not maintained, you'll be getting all these things. So it's not a problem. So from this error only we'll be able to learn something new. Suppose there is no error, then you will not be learning anything. Okay. So this is the one type of info type which I told, info type 66. Okay. Suppose there, I think if it is, I'm not able to maintain 66, I will not be able to maintain 67 as well, because these are already linked to each other. Suppose if I am guessing, yeah. So you can see this info type 67 is not supported because you have not maintained the 66 successfully, right? So, but this 67 is regarding your garnishment claim. Part of the claim you will be finding. Okay, that you'll be finding here. Same goes with your info type 68 also. So if you're trying to maintain 68 separately, I will not be able to. So it will say info type 68 is not supported. Okay. So for that reason, we have to. So this is also we'll be seeing it. Okay, in the future, like this is also a task for you. Try to check this where exactly we maintain generally the. Anyway, I'll be covering in the configuration part whenever I'll be talking about it in future. But I will. This is a task for you. Suppose if you are even getting this error, what exactly we do? Generally, as a consultant, we Google it, and there is some other person might have also just got similar kind of error. Okay, so they must have suggested something. So like SAP Help, we have SCN Community. Okay, so this is not a very unique error. Every consultant or every client must be having some kind of error, this kind of error, and they might have suggested some solution. Go to that table, go to that table, in that table. In this way, actually, you generally support project works. Okay, so do not have to worry about it. So we have just maintained that configuration and try to solve it. Okay, so you just try this. Okay, so this is again a task for you. Try to maintain this info type 66. Okay, for a successfully for an employee. If you're not able to, then I will be helping you in this way. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are two tasks I have given to you. One is regarding this input type 461 to 464. You hire an employee and you try to maintain this 4 employees. Okay, after maintaining this, you just ping me the personal number which you have maintained. I will be seeing that. And you also try to maintain info type 462, 463, 464. Okay, independently without maintaining 461.
Okay. For updating this detail, I just need to hire an employee.
You have to
Or
hire an
is there
employee.
anything else I need to update in PA?
No. You have to just hire an employee using the transaction PA40. Okay, so using the transaction code PA40, you can hire an employee. Otherwise, if you're facing any challenges, then I will be helping you. Okay, so this is also one assignment regarding your input type 461 series. Another assignment is input type 66 series, which actually you have to solve that error. Okay, so this is configured. So the small configurations might be missing in the system. Just you have to assign that company code to that particular vendor. Okay, so you have to just Google it, or you can find it yourself, or otherwise I'll be helping you. These two assignments tomorrow I'll be expecting from you. Okay, and we will see accordingly. Then next, let me move to the workbook. I'm just giving an overview of the workbook which I was talking about, which I've designed. Okay, so can you see the workbook which I have designed? This is actually for any kind of payroll implementation. Generally, we prefer the workbook approach. So previously, we used to maintain a business blueprint in a Word document, but that is again for readability. From readability point of view, Excel is more user friendly compared to Word because the configurations details will be maintaining. But if you see this workbook which I have designed, so if you see the document summary section, what I have done, there are 64 components. Whenever you are working in an implementation project, there are 64 components in the on-premise module, more than approximately 64. The number may vary. Okay, but out of this, around 50 components which are related to the OMPA time. Okay, so this configuration must be there. Okay, so like a company defining a company. So what you can do, I will be suggesting, there are certain pre-filled values already. Okay, so I have already given an example. So how to create a company, how to create a company code. Okay, so there is also a path available, navigation path also I have given. Okay, so what are the activities you will be doing? That details I have given. Okay, so in this way, up to step number 50, you can start. Up to step number 50, you can start completing. Okay, because this is an OMPA time related thing. And if you're facing any issues, just let me know. And some of the things also you can skip it. Like there are, it may not be relevant. Okay, so it is just for your practicing the on-premise module, because up to 50, these are all related to your OMPA, how to create a personal area. So personal area, I've just given an example. These are the possible personal area you can create in a typical specific to Canada. Okay, like Alberta, British Columbia. This is just an example I have given. You can use a different company personal area code. Okay, up to you. Okay, so this number you can make it just for an example I have given. Similarly, personal sub area you can decide You can create your own. Okay, so depending upon your departments and all, you can just, I've just given a simple example. Same goes with your employee group. I have created 3 types of employee group: management, staff worker. Okay, so just keep on going through this. Okay, this is very easy to understand, and you have to, because this workbook I have designed in such a way, it will be helpful to from understanding point of view as well. Okay, so you do not have to refer multiple guide or multiple things. Okay, so this workbook I'll be upfront, I'll be sending to you, and we'll be starting with our payroll configuration this much. Okay, so when it comes to the US Canada payroll, we have we'll be starting with a period parameter. That is our starting point of your Canadian payroll. For any country payroll, okay, we'll be starting with here. Okay, so you take your time. If you would like to have a break tomorrow, take a break. Okay, so we'll be starting otherwise on Monday. So you take, just try to complete this thing. Okay, then we'll
So
be
I'm
starting with,
supposed to do it till 50. I'm supposed to complete it on
sorry,
my own.
yeah.
Till 50, I'm supposed
So
to do it on
till
my own.
till 50, actually these are actually OMPA and time related thing. Okay, so anyway, if you're facing any challenges, then I'll be there to help you. Okay, but these are not very difficult the way I've explained here. Suppose I'm assigning a personal area to a company code. I have detailed out, like suppose this is my personal area I have created, and this is my company code I have created 1000. So you have to just assign it here. Okay, so you have to just, I've also given a screenshot. Okay, so how you will be assigning, where exactly you will be going, and saying whatever I maintain in Excel, I've just given a sample example there. Okay, so accordingly, it maybe number looks very difficult, but exactly if you try to implement, it can be done within one day. Okay, not, it will really means I generally do it in 2 to 3 hours maximum takes for me. Okay, but you can do take a one day complete. Okay. Huh.
Okay, actually previously I was facing the problem while updating number range to the my company code. So
Hmm.
while updating number feature, my company code was not showing in the BUKRS list. So what may be
Okay.
the reason? Because there was showing only 500 companies
Hmm.
in the list of BUKRS list. So
Hmm.
is there any restriction on it
That you need to check
in
it.
the ID?
So what I can do for you, so you just send me the screen. Whenever you're getting an error, just take a screenshot and WhatsApp me. Okay. Then I'll be able to guide you. Okay,
Okay.
because it's subject to vary from company code to company code, and this is actually a playground. This is the sandbox system is a kind of a playground with many people, many consultants. Because it is not my system. This is I've taken from a vendor. Okay, so many consultants across the world, actually they are trying, they are putting their brain, they are trying a lot of things. Okay, so I may not guarantee the configuration is correctly done. Okay, so for that reason, this may not be handy. So because this is also a good learning for you, because unless and until you are not getting any error, you're not understanding. Okay, so if you're facing any error, what I will suggest, you make a note of it. Okay, so like prepare an Excel or the PowerPoint. This is the error I have got it, and how I resolved it. That is actually important. It's not only important to understand how the solve it. That is not a good thing. So once you receive an error, this is how actually, if I were in your place, I generally tried this thing. So just like if I'm getting an error, I'll just maintain a screenshot of it. Then how what was my approach? Okay. Suppose I followed a SCN blog. There's a community blog is there. I followed that blog, and then I was able to resolve it. Then that will be my reference point. So that will be kind of a learning lesson for me. So even if in the future if I'm getting the same error, it will be helpful for me. So in this way, we learn generally in the SAP approach. Actually, that is the way best way. Okay. So I will recommend to that, but follow that approach. Okay. So we keep on learning, and tomorrow or day after tomorrow, let me know if you are comfortable. Then otherwise we can take a break tomorrow, and we'll start from Monday. Okay. So then what we'll be doing? So if you just
Yeah,
log in,
sure. Because
huh, take a break. I will definitely suggest that take a break tomorrow. Okay, even if it's Sunday tomorrow, to take a break, and you just
so
try
that
to,
I'll be able to update it.
otherwise it is because I only will be talking, and I'll be spending I'll be proceeding, but you are not able to catch up the thing. Okay, so this is not a good thing. Okay, so I will recommend take a break tomorrow, and let me know if you're facing any error. So till 50, you may have this kind of if you're facing any issue, just ping me or WhatsApp me, and I'll be happy to help you. Okay, and there are certain things you can leave it, like daily work schedule, because these are related to. So if you say going for say line number 21 to 20, 45 around 50 around, these are all related to time related data. Okay, so the time management itself, it's a different module. Okay, so there might be a lot of things which is not relevant for you, you can skip it. But till 21, you have to till 20 at least. Okay, so this must be there. Okay, employee group, create your own thing. Okay, so just I would recommend, even if it is there something.
Okay, so I just need to do it from 1 to 20.
Yes, yes.
And I can skip 21 to 45.
21 to 40, 49, 50. If it is you are having time, you can go for it, because these are all related to the nothing. It will not impact your much to your payroll. Okay. Only thing is later on also you can create, like you can create your absence type, absence. Okay. This is more related to time management module. Okay.
Okay,
So that all, so that you can refer it. Okay. So it is good to have. But till 20 you must complete it. Then we will be seeing the remaining will be configuration. The next session will be starting from here. 51 to 64. I'll be explaining you. So what is the period parameter? What is the date modifier? Okay. What are the difference between pay scale, type, area, group level? How to configure a waste type configuration? I'll be taking another session because that is a long one. Okay. So till 51 to 57, I'll be taking one session. Then the remaining 58 to 64, I'll be taking another session. Okay. So then we'll be proceeding further, because these are not again Canada specific. So this is again whatever country you are working for. Okay. So it is irrespective of the country, you have to configure it. Okay? So that I will be guiding you. Okay? Is that fine? Okay.
Yeah, that is fine. Yeah. Yeah, I have a question. How am I going to learn the text structure and other things related to it?
Which one?
The text structure.
Corporate structure, or?
Yeah.
Corporate structure, which I was telling you. Do you refer that guide yesterday, which I have told you that this is the implementation guide which I told you to refer. There is something, a chapter called PA in 24 hours. That chapter, did you read it?
Yeah. I'm just going through it. I'm working on it.
Okay, so just to go through that. Okay, so it may happen, it will take some time, but the configuration is not very difficult. When it comes to the PA module, it is a simple master data, right? So personal administration, that module itself, it is very easy to understand compared to payroll and time management. Okay, so what I will recommend, just go through it. Okay, and we'll be seeing in the Monday session. Okay, so if you're having any issues, it may happen. Suppose I have to pause for Monday session. In the Monday, I'll be only explaining what are the error you are received. So just WhatsApp me, and accordingly I'll be solving your problems, whatever you are having in the system. Okay, it may happen. It might be system issue, or it can happen configuration issue. Okay, it can be something else. Okay, so I'll be explaining you all those things. Okay, is that fine?
Yeah, that's
okay. Just I need a list of things, whatever error or issues are having. Okay, so that we'll be seeing in the Monday session.
Yeah, sure. I'll share it with you.
Okay. Take your time. In the meanwhile, I'll be sending you password for this GoToMeeting. Okay, so that you can download today's session as well as yesterday's session. Okay, and presentation, you do not worry about it, because presentation I keep on changing every time. Okay, so I'll be sending you at the end. You refer it, and we'll be seeing it. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Okay, so you are going to share this workbook with me?
Yeah, the workbook as well as this recording the password I'll be sending you today itself. Okay, I'll just wait for another 1 hour. I'll be sending, you'll be getting that in your inbox. Okay. That's fine. This is all for today, and we'll stop here. See you on Monday. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Bye. Good night. Good night.